So a lot of you have reached out because you've been struggling making AI content for your brand. Maybe the packaging's off, the colors or the copy are wrong, and you just can't seem to have really consistent outputs. So today I thought I'd share the very first step we follow for any of our new brand clients at my creative agency first. So this will keep everything on brand and it will set the foundation for your own personalized AI creative system. It'll take you around about 15 minutes in total. So just an example here of what some of your outputs will look like before and after setting this up. So this is based on a test for an eyewear brand I like, Rendezvous. Not a client, but if the team's watching, hit me up. You see the difference here is what I call the context gap. So the AI model creating this first set here didn't actually have any context on the brand. We hadn't built what I call the context bank yet. And the second set of outputs here is when we had the context bank set up. So first thing I want to get clear here is you're probably not wrong about the tools. The models themselves are actually good enough if you set them up right. That's not your bottleneck. The reason your outputs go a bit wrong or off is because you're setting it up, you're asking it to imagine your brand with kind of like a vibe, like you're saying minimalist, affordable eyewear for athletes. The AI doesn't actually know what that means. It fills in the gap, just the way it's been built, to create the average of everything it's ever seen. So that's why you're getting the most generic output possible, which often is quite an AI-ish look. So the way I actually fix this for most of my clients is not what most people do, which is go straight to generating, asking for a logo or some scene. I actually start by giving the model some context on the brand. So the real hex codes, the real type, the real products, and these will all be written down in one place that the model can read every single time it creates a generation. So the fix is simply giving it a context bank with all your brand's context in there. And the tools read from this before they make anything. So it's really, really important, but it is the part that most people skip. Now you might think to set this up properly, it might take a lot of time. You might not have branding guidelines. You might have a website, you might not yet. But the good thing is that we're going to use Claude Code for this. And I have a brand skill already set up that you can take as well, and you'll do the whole process in around about 15 minutes. So instead of trying to describe your brand to the AI, we're going to actually point it at your brand. You wouldn't describe your brand in a sentence to an agency, so think of it the same way with the AI model. You need to give it all the context it needs. So what we do here is give the AI the brand's live site as the source of truth. So in this example, we use Rendezvous. It reads the live site first and only web searches if it needs to fill the gaps in any way. So it'll collect your logos, a breakdown of your brand strategy based on your website, a consumer perspective. It'll make a brand voice document for you, a color palette, counter positioning documents, an index of all your selected products. It'll download the images as well for those products. And it will build an index for your typography and try and download the fonts if it can. If it can't, it will ask you to upload them as well. So this is what agencies will usually charge you thousands of dollars for, this entire branding guidelines, voice, this document here. And this will act as the foundation for a fully built out context bank. And on top of that, it has also built the folder here that your entire brand is going to live in. So it has an intelligence side, which is everything it writes, and a generation side, which is where you can organize any of your outputs you create with image and video gen models in the future. Now, as we probably both know, AI isn't exactly perfect. So sometimes it makes mistakes, it extracts the wrong thing. It might not analyze your brand in exactly the way you want it to. So that's where this step comes in here. We're going to go into each document and folder, just skim it quickly, make sure everything is exactly as it should be. The importance of these is that these documents will decide whether an output, so like your copy, carousel slides, images, anything like that, uses the right logos, the right fonts, the right colors, and it pulls in the right branding context and your voice and all of that. So we need to get this spot on before moving on. If there's something you feel like is missing, Claude will either flag it with you or you will need to add it in yourself when you notice it's missing from the brand docs. It usually does 95, 99% of the work, so there's not much usually required here. But if you have additional context, say you've been around for a while, you have a couple of brand guideline docs, you might want to drop those in as well, so Claude can organize that into its own kind of format. Just drop in whatever you've got into the folder, like PDFs, documents, and Claude will kind of fold this in, refine the documents inside the project. And I just want to emphasize the importance of this again, because this is what will make the brands that use AI kind of aimlessly set this up once and forget about it from the brands that actually really invest in their foundation, because this is really what makes your content feel unique, differentiated, and not generic like every other AI output. So everything will build from here. And the idea is that when it generates, it will be relying on its own judgment as little as possible. So on top of all the context files and the assets that Claude will collect and generate, it also creates one bonus file that can help a lot with the generation consistency. So This is the prompt modifier is what I've called it. This is the paragraph that goes at the beginning of every image and video generation you'll create. It includes your hex codes, your color grade, your mood. It's just written down once at the start, and it's adapted to the generation itself. So just to recap so far, on one side, we've got the intelligence folder, which will include all your context, your strategy, positioning, your voice, colors, your type, your products, all of that. Then on the other side, we've got the generation folder. So that'll include any of your assets you generate, like carousels, images, videos. It might be like UGC, static ads, anything like that into subfolders there. So make sure your brand context bank lives within the project or is referenced to the AI when you're generating so that these two can talk to each other. Now, the good thing about this is you set it up once, and then every tool after it just reads from the intelligence side of things. So this is what makes your system really strong and capable and lets your team run it without you. So now when you go to make anything, Claude already loads in all of your context and knows your brand before you type a single word. The context bank is extremely useful for all the clients we work with, but this context bank, the brain, the intelligence folder need actual actions to take. So the actual generation skills for UGC, product shots, static ads, all of that. Now my own private set that I use for client projects lives inside my paid program, Creative Accelerator. If you'd rather just take the foundation from this video, so the brand skill, and then build and generate on top of that yourself, that's also great. You can do that too. I've linked this brand setup and the skill for free in the description. And I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments how you go and see a few before and afters of your generations.